Last time out, Trackmania players have been faced with a wet track for the first time of the season, a balancing act which saw Granadi take his first win of the year amidst a chaotic second half of the race. Today, however, the rain makes way for a glorious sunshine as we prepare for round 3 of the Trackmania Formula E Championship, the Diriyah E-Prix. And we will, as per usual, bring you all of tonight's action live, starting with qualifying at top of the hour, followed by the race shortly thereafter. Hello everybody, I'm Thomas Bengozi, aka G-Geek, and alongside me in the booth is the one and only Kai Ludwig, aka Luckers Turbo. Thank you very much for joining us once again. And Kai, as I was alluding to, we had a very chaotic second half of the E-Prix, but the E-Prix itself in Berlin was an absolute scorcher.
Yeah, it was very, very good to watch, but of course the rain definitely came in clutch in there. I would be very much surprised if we see a rain today in this kind of setting, as we have the third E-Prix happening today. So after this one, we already halfway through, but as you were alluding to beforehand already, Granadi took his first win of the season, and with that, he took home €600 for the race win.
Yeah, exactly. His first cash prize of the season actually being pocketed right there and then, €600 on the dot. And yeah, the race itself, it was really a two-parter. The first half of the race was very much bone dry, and we saw plenty of shuffling about as people decided to cycle through their first activations of attack mode. Eventually, we saw Quick emerge ahead, and then all of a sudden the race engineer said rain coming in 5 minutes, and as soon as that call was there, you were the one to actually catch it on video, catch it on your end. Everybody, as soon as they were approaching the turn, they were like, screw it, we're not taking the corner, full send into attack mode to try and get rid of it as quick as possible. And when the rain did come in, Quick, whilst he had the advantage early on, Granadi really came into his own and took the lead on lap 23, and it was a very close battle between the two pretty much throughout the second half of the race, where the gap was always hovering around the 1 second mark. But then lap 41, turn number 2, absolute scenes, as no less than 4 cars have crashed out. Granadi made it through unscathed. He managed to completely avoid the pitfalls of sliding out in the rain. Quick did not. He slid out at the exit of turn 2. Same for Wizzy. Then he was leading down to Patroza, who maybe had an opportunity, but he slid out at the entry and crashed full stop-it into the wall, leading into the attack mode zone. Berserker overtaking him for P4, potentially on the hook for a podium spot, and then a few short corners later, gets a single wall brush against the wall in turn 4. But Berserker would end up getting revenge, as he managed to conserve a bit more energy than both Patroza and Wizzy, and overtook them both to score his first podium of the season and his 3rd overall career podium. So great job on the part of the German driver.
Yeah, so Berserker really showed what he's capable of doing in this rainy circumstance. So great performance there. And I think this was the same position order for the top 3 that we had during season 1 as well. It was race 2, yeah.
Race 2 of the triple set of, indeed, with Granadi, Quick, and Berserker in that order. And Berserker actually was scoring his first ever podium at that point in time, when that finish occurred the first time. So, Granadi, Quick, Berserker, your roundup of the podium. Let's take a little bit of a look at how the championship standings stack up. With 2 rounds out of 6 left to go, a third of the way through. Quick still, of course, leading the standings with 190 points to his account, but then he's getting very, very closely followed by both Granadi and Patroza. Granadi on 182 and Patroza on 172. Also looking very consistent here from the German. Wizzy currently sits in P4 with 165, 10 points ahead of Wosal on 155 in 5th place. Then we find Warl and Heave, the 2 other Frenchmen in the top 10, with Warl 6th on 131 and Heave 7th on 125 respectively, and Simon Luck, Bemi, and Marius89 sitting in 8th, 9th, and 10th, sharing the exact same amount of points, 116.
Yeah, so very close fights here, and one blunder can really pull you over. I mean, all it has to take is one disconnect, or maybe like your internet has to hold. This can always happen. This is always dangerous for you. But what is really surprising for me in this ranking is Wopstyle. 5th position, 155 points. I expected a bit more in the first 2 races from the 3 times TMFL champion, but maybe he can bounce back on this highly technical map with a lot of blind turns and elevation changes. 54 seconds in length approximately without the attack mode. This is gonna be a long, long race to do, and with that, I think less laps will be played as well.
Yeah, indeed. Those were, of course, some of the guesstimations that we have. We are expecting those times that we told you, 54, 53 seconds a lap, to be obliterated, be it with attack mode or not. as we're going to be heading into round number 3 of this 24-25 Trackmania Formula E season, which started all the way back in December with the Sao Paulo E-Prix in Brazil around the Anhembi Sambadrome, an inaugural race which has won by Vic. Then we were, of course, on January 15th on the Berlin-Tempelhof circuit in Berlin with Carradi taking the win that time out. Now it's going to be the Stritze Diriyah hosting the TMFE Championship. Then after that, we will be heading back towards the USA with Miami on April the 9th. Actually, the first incursion in the USA for Trackmania Formula E. And of course, the Super Week at the very end of the season, May 14th and 15th. London, then Tokyo, back-to-back to crown the champion.
Yeah, this will be a lot of fun. But also one thing that I forgot in my formula is the 54-second time is, of course, a starting start. So a flying lap is much faster. I see a 48-second time being done by Quick. So roughly around that barrier, players will be able to drive. And then maybe with the attack mode, 43, 44 seconds. But that's what we're going to see. But man, I'm hyped how this will go, because this will guide us into the direction of who is going to win this second season, because there's a lot of cash prize on the line as well. You probably know where to find it, but it's 10,000 euro in total. We're not gonna dive into that for now, but also for the seasonal ranking, there's 4,000 euro up for grabs. So will it be Quick again or someone else? I think it will pave the way today, whoever wins the race, or maybe Quick is blundering, but it just seems like he's unstoppable.
Hopefully this is the stage for a potential championship battle brewing, as before we head into qualifying, we're going to do something a little bit different. Usually I would reserve my news segment between qualifying and the race. Unfortunately, last time out, we kind of ran out of time before we even got started with the news section, so we're going to do it right here. This weekend is, of course, the race week. It is race week for the actual ABB FIA Formula E Championship, with rounds 3 and 4 happening at the Jeddah Corniche circuit. And there's a couple of things that are happening that I wanted to talk about. Ahead of the race weekend, there will be a 40-minute free practice session for rookie drivers. That is to say, drivers that have not participated in a Formula E race before, which will be the chance for people to actually get a sample of Formula E machinery for the first time. And there's a handful of names that I wanted to talk about. One of those from last time out is Alex Dunna, the Neon McLaren's new reserve and development driver, 19-year-old driver from the United Kingdom, who has a couple of junior category titles in his pedigree, namely the 2024 British Formula 4 Championship title and 2023 GB3 Championship runner-up position. He's also had a couple of podium finishes in Formula 3 last year, and he's been recently confirmed to contest a full Formula 2 campaign with Rodin Motorsport. So lots of potential. It's really nice to see new young drivers that teams are starting to bank on when it comes to actually getting new talent feeded into Formula E. Other names include Theo Pourchaire, 2023 Formula 2 champion, who's going to be driving the Maserati MSG entry. We also have 2024 Formula 3 Championship runner-up Gabriele Mini, who will be driving for Nissan. We also have the 2023 DTM champion Thomas Preining with the Austrian driving for Tatagoya Porsche team. And another name I wanted to point out, Jamie Chadwick, who participated in the all-women drivers test in preseason. She will be driving in the rookie free practice with Jaguar TCS. And for those of you who don't know who Jamie Chadwick is, she is one of the most decorated female drivers in the UK with a tally of 3 World W Series championships, one of the precursors to all-female open-wheel championships, and she's competed in the last few seasons stateside with Andretti and Indy NXT, where she made a little bit of history by becoming the first female driver to win an Indy NXT round in 15 years, as well as the first ever woman driver in the series' history to win both pole position and the race on the road course. That happened on the Grand Prix of America in Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin on June 8th and 9th. One of the true trailblazers when it comes to female representation in motorsports, and it's nice to see her back in the wheel of an open wheel car. So this is one of those things that is happening. And another thing that is happening during this race, and I'm very sorry, I'm kind of have to rethink through this because qualifying is about to start in a minute. There is the introduction of Pit Boost for the first time since Season 4. It will be the return of pit stops in a very different way. Pit stops back then in the very early days were because of technical limitations, especially in terms of battery chemistry, capacity, and efficiency. Here, Pit Boost will allow drivers once per race to get a 10% state of charge increase or 10% recharge in 30 seconds. This is a mandatory pit stop that drivers have to take, and they have to be sitting between 40 and 60% state of charge in order to be able to take that Pit Boost. It can be used along with attack mode. While attack mode is completely unaffected, it's just another strategic element, but beyond that, it is also a great showcase for infrastructure technology when it comes to charging, because
that's cool.
Typically superchargers that you see commercially available for your electric car top out at around the 300 kilowatt range. This is supposedly, well, the output that will be given to the car in Pit Boost is 600 kilowatts. That is about as much energy output as that of the car actually in regen braking. In regen alone, you can generate up to 600 kilowatts of energy with a Formula E car. Here, it's 600 kilowatts straight from the plug for 30 seconds straight. It's kind of mind-boggling to see, and it's always nice to see those kind of technological showcases as I'm kind of stumbling over the pronunciation of technological, but it really gives us a little bit of a glimpse of what the future infrastructure might be when it comes to electric car charging, and that is one of the key aspects of Formula E, a technical hotbed for innovation and also potentially trying things out that might trickle down to road cars and cars available to the general public in the near future. So those are going to be closing it out for our news section because qualifying is about to start in a few seconds. But if you want to find out all of this information, also find out where you can watch Formula E in your country and also maybe watch, I don't know, maybe previous season's races with a race replay, FIAFormulaE.com, the official Formula E website, will have you covered on pretty much all accounts, and you will be able to actually also get the live timing. I think there's still live timing. Last time I checked out, it was a few races ago, but there was live timing during the sessions, and it's always one cool thing to see, to be able to follow the tracking of the cars on the website, FIAFormulaE.com. Make sure to go check it out, and more. And with that out of the way, it seems like we are going to be having qualifying starting in about 10 seconds. So we'll be switching to the game very momentarily, and you will get to see for the very first time on stream the Diriyah Street Circuit. And as we alluded to, a very technical track, especially the middle sector is absolutely brutal when it comes to technicality. As this qualifying session is starting now, the 15-minute session is up and about, as we are going to be going on all, and we do see about 3/4 of the game. When you just quickly fix that, there we go. We are now back up to full screen as we do follow along with Patroza for the pit exit and the outlap.
So thank you very, very much for that news section there. A lot of promising things coming up here, that is for sure. A mixed bag of free practice racers are coming into play from a lot of different backgrounds. I will be looking forward to seeing that as well. And then also the technological progress. Just exciting to see, you know, 600 kilowatt fast charging. It's incredible to think about.
That's all like power.
It's a lot of power, that is for sure. But let's jump into the race as we are going here. We have Wizzy currently finding himself in the lead, going into the ending of the first lap, driving a 53.821. That was the time that we were alluding to beforehand as well, which we thought is the fastest time that players can produce without the attack mode. But of course, you have to put into consideration that now players will go for a flying lap, so they have a 5 seconds advantage already because they don't start with 0 kilometers per hour. They have 300 and they don't have to accelerate, and Wizzy's still in the lead. And right behind him we have Heath, and then there's Marius on 3rd position, but he dropped a bit behind. So let's follow the battle between Wizzy and Heath for now, as Wizzy just seems to extend his lead.
Yeah, Wizzy currently still on course to try and lodge the first 48 of the session at the present moment. The timing stand will be revealing that time for us, and it will be indeed a 48, a 48.340, current fastest lap in the session. Closely followed by Paul, though, 60 milliseconds adrift with a 0.356 as we are going to be heading down towards that second sector. And you can see plenty of elevation change, plenty of chances for your car to actually get a little bit light and a little bit loose. And then this particular sequence of corners, 11, 12, 13, followed by 14, where you have such a tight timing for the setup for a Neo slide, where you basically have to turn into the corner, then release the steering, and then steer and brake at the same time. For those of you who are pretty new to this technique, it demands a very specific timing, and the timing window is so short that I think we're going to be seeing quite a handful of people that might completely miss the input altogether.
Yeah, I mean, a Neo slide is probably the most important thing in Trackmania to learn when you start with a game. But it's, as you said, it's very precise, and if it's a tight turn, you have a very, very small window of when to do this Neo slide. You see Wizzy failing it here, and the reason why you do a Neo slide is either you're too slow, so you're in gear 2 or gear 3, or you don't steer long enough. So if you steer for, let's say, just 0.2 of a second and then you start to drift, it will not work. So if there's a rapid change in the steering movement from left to right, you have to do a Neo slide, else you get a no slide, so only 2 of your wheels are sliding, and normal slide, so a 4-wheel slide, your car breaks out, is much faster and efficient to go around the corner and maintain as much speed as possible. But yeah, it is really hard as Wizzy makes a couple of mistakes, a couple of respawns. So let's go with the person who has won the previous race. Let's go with Granadi, who enters the next lap here in just a couple of seconds, as he was struggling with this turn as well when I was spectating him, but I think he got P9 or 11 or something like this in Cup of the Day, because this track was also featured in today's track of the day, and of course then played in Cup of the Day.
Yes, of course, being this a new track, it is going to be the only running that they've had. If they decided to participate in Cup of the Day, barely around an hour thereabouts, maybe even less than that, to try and figure out which lines to take. And now it's going to be a very different ball game altogether, because, as we stated, it is a combined practice and qualifying session where not only do you have to post the fastest time to get into Division 1 or top split, you also have to figure out your energy consumption and the ways you can actually find to save energy whilst maintaining a consistent pace. Considering it will be a 33-lap race, I'm thinking we're going to be seeing, well, 33-lap race is going to be like 3.3% energy consumption thereabouts per lap on average. So they will try to find themselves. A nice little butter zone where they can actually drive consistently fast whilst remaining within the delta required to actually make it all the way through the race. And it's going to be especially important considering that given the rather blue skies that we have and the track record around Diriyah in the actual Formula E race, I don't think we're going to be seeing any raindrops here.
I think it is a 1 in a million to see raindrops, other than maybe the admins want to do a little bit of trolling in this way, but I doubt that rain is going to happen here in Diriyah in Saudi Arabia. But yeah, 3.3% of energy consumption is the go-to here for one lap, because we play 33 laps in the live race, and of course if you exceed 3.3% on average per lap, you're gonna go to 0% energy, and that means limp mode is activated, so your car is heavily limited of how to accelerate. You gain 1 to 2 kilometers per hour just every second, so that is nothing. So you need to be very careful of how aggressive you want to be before the turns, and maybe just take a couple of turns or just a couple of sectors a bit slower, because the faster you go, the more energy you're gonna consume.
Indeed, it's all about that fine balance between energy consumption and pace, as we've alluded to time and time again. Now, just to talk briefly about the Diriyah Street Circuit, it is not used for this season. It's being held in Jeddah, the Saudi the Diriyah E-Prix this season. But the Saudi round has been present since Season 5, and almost every single time, bar from this year, has been hosted at the Diriyah Street Circuit, while next to the At-Turaif World Heritage Site, which has been designated as a World Heritage Site in 2010. And actually, on the very first introduction to the Diriyah E-Prix, the very first edition of the Diriyah E-Prix, it was also the very first race of the Gen 2 car, the Batmobile, as we like to refer to it. The first car that had the battery capacity big enough to actually last an entire race. And this is also the very first race which saw the introduction of attack mode, which was very much restricted compared to how it is now. These days, it's a 50 kilowatts boost in power, compared to the very beginning where it was only 25 kilowatts, and it was always set activation timings like we have here in Trackmania. These days in Formula E, you have the choice of kind of like splitting your activations into 2 or 6 fragments, or like 4 and 4 fragments, and so on and so forth. You just have an 8-minute bank of time that you can allocate to 2 different activations, knowing that those 2 activations are mandatory. Here in Trackmania, we're very much running it the old school way, with 2 1-minute 30 activations for each driver that have to be used.
Yeah, that is for sure. The attack mode is also the bread and butter in this kind of concept. You can use it to apply pressure, but how it's going to work, you activate the reactor boost up to your car, and then you cruise around the track with the sacrifice, of course, going through the attack mode sector. That is a bit of a detour, but of course you activate the reactor boost then to your car, and then you just are flying through the map. You accelerate much faster, and you also brake a bit different, so it might be a bit tricky for the one or another player, because it will be the first time that players will activate the attack modes here on this particular map. And on those turns, maybe then the turn will not be full speed anymore, but you have to drift or to release. And because turns are so blind here, it could become lethal for the one or another player. So I'm looking forward to see how this will be going as attack mode is always there to change the game and also the whole ranking of the players.
Indeed, as we were talking about attack mode and its importance both in Trackmania and in Formula E proper, we have witnessed a new, new track record and new pole position time being driven by Kvik. We were a little bit late to switch to that. Of course, that happened whilst we were actually chatting a bit, but it is a 48.167 for the championship leader, who puts himself 1.8 tenths ahead of Wizzy. Paul currently completing the provisional podium, quote-unquote, in this particular qualifying session, and I was focusing a little bit on Warl, currently P6 in the championship with 131 points, just ahead of Heave. And yeah, I feel like the Frenchman might have a really good chance here in this Diriyah E-Prix to try and make a little bit of a further charge up the field, try and maybe bag one of the top 5 spots, which is synonymous with prize pool attribution here in this second season of Formula E. So it will be very interesting to see how the Frenchman, very used to competing in Formula style races, will be able to fare here in this rather new track, which has one for me, this corner right here, turn 5 after the roundabout, the 90 left-hander, which has a little bit of negative camber. You take the curve, if you take it in the wrong way, you can end up with significant airtime, which can send you onto the outside wall. And then, yeah, this entire second sector, going from turn 6 and 7 all the way to turn 14, is arguably one of the more difficult sections that you can encounter as a Trackmania player, whether you be a casual, like a new player, or a seasoned player like Warl is. It's extremely difficult to get the line right.
Yeah, like you can lose control so easily on those kind of sections, and the right line is required, and it's sometimes just pixel perfect of how players have to do this. And also then the S chicane after that, you know, the right-left combination, it's so important to nail the timing there as well, because you need to maintain as much speed as possible. And we can also see Wall really struggling, but as you were mentioning it, top 6 for him, he's currently 24 points behind Wosal in the total ranking. So let's see what he can do, because only the top 5 from the championship ranking will go home with money. So Wall has to do something today, but I mean, his practice does not look too bad. He just needs to work a little bit on his consistency. But on the other hand, Wosal, 4th position right now, looking even better for him, as we have also other servers that are currently running. So this is only the featured server with hand-picked players. We have other servers as well where everybody can participate in. So if you want to play the races next time yourself, you only need club access, and then you can join and play and maybe qualify to Division 1.
Yeah, indeed, and we are just following along with Wosal at the moment, who was looking to be almost on par with his current best qualifying effort, but in the run-up to turn number 17 in the long start-finish straight, he ended up losing a lot of time, so that is not going to be an improvement in the books for the Frenchman, currently sitting P5 in the standings with 155 points. Let's go along with him for another lap and see how he deals with this, as we do get a new fastest lap on courtesy of Paul with a 48.140. I wonder if we're going to be closing in on the 47s. Might be a bit of a stretch, but at the very least the .0 looks to be very much possible, in the realm of possibility here, as Wosal continues to navigate, and it's very much that very tight section from turns 9 to 14 where he seems to lose the bulk of the time there. Maybe his approach is not really quite up to snuff when it comes to actually be fast in that particular moment where he needs to actually get those qualifying times. Although with a P4 standing at the moment, he looks to be pretty safe into top split, and he's more looking to work on his race pace as well as his energy consumption while he's at it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's what players have to learn in this very short time window as well here. 15 minutes is what you get to get used to how much energy do you consume, and you think, yeah, that's enough time. You've played the map beforehand. We have seen so many players just misjudging it. I'm just always referring to Granadi, first season, first race, you know, where he just went all in and was pushing so much, and then went into limp mode, I think 2 laps to spare with. So he was absolutely in the mud and was not able to get on the podium. I think he even finished like on P30 or something. It was an absolute devastating performance for him.
P39, I don't think he finished. I remember he finished within the top 15 thereabouts. I think he finished in P11, if I recall correctly. That might be
yeah, the gaps were quite large there. Yeah, true. I remember that.
The gaps were pretty large, but yeah, Granadi's example. I know you say you can't help but refer to it, but it is a textbook definition of completely eyeballing the wrong strategy and completely using up your energy in the process. And for now, Granadi has learned the lesson, and he also has learned that Mother Nature can be on his side sometimes. But in the dry races, we've seen him steadily move up the pecking order, but it's really where Kvik has the pocket, because he's got that much better sense of strategy compared to the rest of his opponents. As we are slowly but surely closing in towards the end of qualifying with less than 100 seconds left, a minute and 35 seconds, so we're going to be heading into the final laps now.
Yeah, it might be the final 2 laps for the players, but it's great to see that Kvik is contending Wolsal and also Patrosa for the first position. I mean, it's at this point only a quick show as we had in Season 1, but I still remember when we were casting TMFL back in the days, the Trackmania Formula League, it was either Patrosa or it was Wolsal, and now we have a new champ on the line, Kvik. He's also streaming it on Twitch. I just want to shout out his stream as well. He's currently live, so you can check it out as well, and maybe even follow a race win on his side. His Twitch is Little Kvik, so make sure to check him out. Just kudos where kudos is due, and I think he really deserves it.
Yeah, that is very true. Also, another man who's potentially streaming this race is Yannex. We haven't seen him actually in the previous round in Berlin, but he makes a comeback with another brand new track at his disposal. So it will be very interesting to see how the Swiss driver, who participated in plenty of TMFE races and TMFL races in the past, will be faring in this another brand new track and another brand new set of variables with pretty much no rain to speak of whatsoever. As he currently follows along with Heave in the last 20 seconds a lap, he will be able to get a lap in, but it will not be an improvement. Currently he's sitting in P10 with a 49.2, if my calculations are correct. It's a 49.213 if the gaps are correct. And Yannick's about to close out his qualifying session, and it will be Paul who will be emerging at the top of this server with Kvik in close second and Wizzy completing the proverbial podium. But of course, this does not reflect the entire strength of field. There are multiple servers concurrently running, and we are just waiting for all of their sessions to end. After that, we are going to be aggregating all of the times, and the result of that aggregated time will determine who will be ending up in Division number 1.
Yeah, 50 players will be qualifying to Division number 1, but it seems like that all the players from the top 5 field are playing. I see Kvik on the server, I see Granadi, Patrosa, Wizzy, and Wolsal as well. So the battle is still on in that regard. And then, of course, Marius is on the server. I haven't seen Bimi, but maybe he was not on the featured server. But I think it will be a great race to follow here on this map, because 33 laps is probably the least amount of laps that we have seen over the 2 seasons that we have already had during the Trackmania Formula E Corporation.
Yeah, indeed. As if you're just joining us, first of all, thank you very much for tuning in. You just joined in after the qualifying session for the 2025 Trackmania Diriyah E-Prix, round 3 of the Trackmania Formula E Championship, and you're thinking, oh, that sounds good, and that track did look pretty good if you were just joining in. What if I just want to take it for a spin for myself? Well, you can do so in the Formula E Club, where the Diriyah track has been added to the Formula E Tracks 25 campaign. You also get access to the training room, where you get to get a little bit of a taste of what it is like to race with energy consumption with the TMFE game mode. And of course, you can rock one of the wonderful liveries, which are now completed. We have the last 4 teams that have joined us in the Formula E Club in the livery section. Let me just show you in there. Those were one of the latest joining Envision. Now we do have the Jaguar team. We have McLaren that you can see in the background. We also do have the Lola Yamaha Aptine, arguably one of my favorite skins in the lot. Less is more, as we say sometimes. And also the Cupra Kiro team is present in Trackmania, and it is alongside all of the other teams from Season 11 and the Championship show car. All wonderful, wonderful renditions, absolutely beautiful work, and if you want to check it out for yourself, that's easy. Formula E Club in the Trackmania game itself.
Yeah, the skins are, or the liveries are just absolutely beautiful. And for me, also more is less sometimes, you know. The basic car skins are sometimes just the coolest looking, but also the small details that you have on them, you know. It's sometimes very, very nice. So it will be 33 laps playing, and if you miss the race, hey, go ahead, check out the club and play the track on your own. And also there's one good thing, you can also play the previous E-Prix as well. So the previous tracks are also on there, as well as this one. And then of course we still have 3 tracks to come as we have Miami, London, and Tokyo. So one new track in there, London and Tokyo, we've already seen during season number 1.
Yeah, and indeed, if you wanted to take part into the Super Week of May 14 and 15, then you can already get your practice sessions on with both Tokyo and London that are available in the Trackmania Formula E campaign for the 2025 season. And with that, the server is starting to get a little bit more populated. Let's see who I can see here in terms of who can join, who has joined into the lobby. I do see Soba, I see Wosile in there, I see Wayne, James, Marius89, Patroza, and Eve at the current moment. Those are the current ones that I can see, but of course we will be able to see the full extent of the field when the race is about to start in, I would say, around in a couple of minutes time. I can't exactly give an exact ETA because sometimes things can shift around, as was demonstrated during the Berlin race last time out, but it will be very interesting to see the full strength of field that we have here on this Diriyah E-Prix.
Yep. Yeah, so there's a little bit of confusion going on, and of course players also memeing about chance of rain and all of that, but I think it will be a great race, and I can just see so many players that we have not seen during the featured server who were not on there. The likes of Huzo, for example, Dennis, Golden Nugget, who also did really well during the Cup of the Day. I think he was in the top 8 position, but then I had to join in for the voice and into the preparation. But he did really good on this map here as well. So looking forward to seeing this as well. Maybe Hello Mark is here as well. That would be great to see because I was on his stream beforehand and he always plays those races as well. And well, maybe let's go for a prediction. Will it be a boring one, or who are you going for?
I would like to think this will be Granadi's first win. He wants to continue on the momentum of Berlin. I'm thinking so.
Okay, nice. That's a great prediction, actually. And I think we have the warm-up starting now. So the race is starting very soon. That means that No, we're actually starting now. 9 seconds.
Yeah, we are indeed starting. Everything is being set up. The grid is completely formed. The action is about to get started in a couple of seconds. And for the first time in Saudi Arabia, in TMFE, we are racing with the field let loose as the lights go off. And we are going to be witnessing everything from the perspective of He for the start here into the chicane of turn 18 and 19. Paul and Fick will be leading the charge, and it will be Patroza and Mosal actually battling with each other. This is Wizzy in 3rd and 4th, actually. Mosal did drop down quite significantly in the huge rush from Granadi before even crossing the start-finish line.
Yeah, Granadi with a huge mistake here, only 20 seconds into the race, so he follows the pack from behind. Kirindi on P18, but he's there to do some damage. We see Kurizo Tina with a mistake as well, so one person has been overtaken, but of course Granadi is prone, or just makes mistake after he has done a mistake, but this time it is looking good, so he has cooled down and made this turn across. Huzo also with a mistake, and we see a lot of players with low speed. Loco, who dropped all the way from 5th down to P17, and now Marius and Granadi fighting it out here going into lap number 2.
Nice, and Granadi fighting it out going into lap number 2 with Paul being the early leader with a 55.597, the current fastest lap of the race, of course, very, very early on in these race proceedings, as we do see a couple of players dropping left, right, and center, as they did make some unfortunate encounters with walls and a bit of a bump on the inside of turn 1 there from Warl, and Bimi also looking very slow on the way around the roundabout before turn 5. Granadi managing to keep it off of the wall and moving back up into P9, now having his sights set on both Yannick's and Yandro with a very superb start for the American driver, and look at the speed Granadi was able to carry through the 11 through 13 section and also through turn 14, and Heath having crashed out at the exit of turn 14 heading into turn 15. The Frenchman is going to be tumbling down the order, and Granadi, just like that, is back up into the top 6.
Yeah, very, very good lap here from Granadi, dropping a great time. It also has the fastest lap at the moment, 49.092, just 0.24 ahead of Wosal. So Granadi showing that he is capable of being fast on this map. So great prediction. I've not gone into my prediction. I would say maybe the other wheelman who's just in front of him, Wizzy, can do something happen here today, but I hope I did not jinx him. As we see the first attack modes being enabled, we see Marius on P19 who activated the attack mode, so that means reactor boost is attached to the car from Marius for the next 90 seconds, and with that he accelerates faster and also consumes less energy, which could come into play at some point, because if you overheat in 1 or 2 laps, you burn through a little bit of more energy, and you really want to avoid avoid the limp modes in the end of the race.
Yeah, especially if you run into lip mode just before a braking zone. This is possibly the worst possible outcome you could ever get, because you have to end up slowing down very heavily to make a particular corner, and then after that you're just basically stuck sitting in a standstill pretty much, as the other opponents basically just blast past you as you get completely left in the dust, as Granadi has completely left Wizzy in the dust, who's been a bit overly conservative towards the end of lap number 3 and into lap number 4. So the wheelman, the OG wheelman from Germany, is up into the top 5 and now bearing down on his fellow compatriot Patroza. Does seem to get a little overused just a teensy tiny bit, but it's basically just very slim pickings in terms of margin at this point. The top 5 regroup within 0.3 to 0.4% of energy usage at the current moment, and Granadi continuing to pounce and trying to find a bit of an aperture compared to Patroza, as we do see, of course, Marius dropping a 47.4 with attack mode, and we missed the lineup for the chicane of turns 18 and 19 before the attack mode zone on the side of Patroza, so Granadi gains 1 spot before the start of lap number 5.
Yeah, let's go into the 5th lap, as we have seen a great fight between Paul and Wosal for that 2nd position. This one is still ongoing, but Paul now 0.2 of a second ahead of the Frenchman, who was so dominant during the Trackmania Formula League, but now he has found some new competitors. The newest person on the block is of course Quick, and also the most dominant person, as he is again in the lead, and it looks like he has found the formula again. He has a little bit more energy than the others that will really compound through the race, so maybe 1 to 2% energy at the end, or maybe even more than that. But look at this line from Wosal as well, looking great. 2nd place for him. Paul on 3rd, so where's Granadi? Granadi not too far behind as well. And then we have Patroza on 5th, and Marius, who went for his 2nd attack mode activation, not even in the top 5, and he has only 27 seconds left, and then he will not have any attack mode during the rest of the race.
He's not the only one to go for early back-to-back activations of attack mode, though. Yandro has decided to join in with somewhat later activation compared to what Marius has done, but there will be the first ones to drop back down the packing order as the others decide to be a little bit more choosy with their activations of attack mode specifically. And you were pointing out Wosal seeming to have found his mojo again in the early parts of this race, being pretty much on point in energy conservation, along with Fick, who has been just running above 82% state of charge until the start of lap number 7. And it feels like this is very much another battle that we've been very accustomed to in the very last stages of Formula Racing, things early stage before TMFE. These two would battle it out for race wins and a potential championship battle in pretty much every single account, as we do see a bit of a hot battle between Paul and Granadi for the top 4, with Marius also acting as an independent adjudicator watching the battle from afar. And we do see again Granadi, this middle sector, this is where he's got the pocket. He continues to carry so much speed, north of 320 kilometers an hour, heading into turn number 13 before braking for turn 14. But the Portuguese driver Paul is not taking this one lying down. He's absolutely not letting this one slip, and retakes before the start of lap 8. And both are chasing down Patroza, who's just laughing in the foreground. Well, he might be laughing just a little bit tense, maybe with gritted teeth, because he knows that at any mistake he can absolutely completely crash down in the rankings.
But look at this, the attack mode, 47 seconds from Yandro. I think the time will get beaten, but it's not like 3, 4, 5 seconds faster than the time without attack mode. So it seems like attack mode does not really give you too much, because you have, of course, a couple of braking zones, but there's only one sector that I can really think of where you really get a lot of speed out of the reactor boost, and that is the long chicane before the S, the long stretch before the S chicane. This one is the only real deal, the one that is Granadi, right? I think this is the only one that is really profitable with the attack mode. Other than this, due to the fact that the track is so tight and you have to release and adjust and brake, I think attack mode will not play a significant role here, other than just clean and good driving.
Yeah, indeed. And also I feel like there's a lot less well, of course there is the very tight and twisty sector too, but it feels like when you look at it from a bird's eye view, from a top-down view of the map, you think, oh yeah, this might seem like a very fast section, there's not really that much corner radius, but the elevation, this is what really gets you. And honestly, I don't really think that attack mode really yields you that much advantage when it comes to actually carrying much more speed through that sinuous section, as we do see a huge attack from Granadi, and that was a very unfortunate wall brush at the exit of turn number 14. He had just regained P3 from Paul and Patroza, and he just threw it away here towards the end of lap number 9, and Patroza is going to be able to try and take advantage of this, as Wizzy is also going to be a little bit further down the order, trying to chase along, and currently in the top 10, as we said, only Marius and Yandro opted to go for back-to-back activations early on, as we did see a couple of other drivers that is going to be going through, with Kyosul and Gold having decided to get rid of their attack moves before lap 10 even rang the bell.
Yeah, and just look at this. Marius, definitely one of the best Trackmania players out there, one of the most experienced drivers. He was 2 seconds behind Quick, like lap 5, 6, when his attack mode ran out, and during that span he has already lost 5 additional seconds. It's just crazy how fast Quick is. It looks effortlessly, and with that, Quick sets himself up for another race win here. Probably. I mean, there's still 23 laps to go. There's a lot of things that can go wrong, and Wolsal certainly not slowing down. Found a good line through that sector here, going into lap number 11, looking really, really nice. And with that, he's only 3 seconds behind. And then Paul trying to attack Gennady on 4th, and we see Keith going for the attack mode now. Maybe we can see how many positions he's gaining during that.
Sure, let's switch ahead with the Frenchman currently chasing Bimi for the top 10, and yeah, he's gonna have about 1 minute and 50 seconds left to go, and yeah, he's very, very tentative on how he actually can push those corners. Even with attack mode, it's probably even worse because of the elevation change, because these kind of things can happen. Unfortunately for him, he's got way too much airtime with turn 8 and turn 9 and heading on straight into the wall. That's going to be dropping him down to P13 for now. He managed to escape with minimal damage from that in terms of standings, but that challenge for P10 is definitely going to be ringing a little bit more hollow, as Patty is also trying to challenge for that P12 against Heath. But there we go, the long straight. This is where he actually can stretch the legs of attack mode a little bit more, but he will not be able to stretch those legs for much longer. 35 seconds, and I don't think he's going to be able to make use of that full throttle advantage that the attack mode gives you, except here in that start-finish line complex. He manages to get past Benny for P10, but at what cost?
Yeah, I mean, it also makes sense now the times, because you don't have a full lap of attack modes when it comes to that, because in the first lap you have to activate it, right? And then in the second lap you go ahead and it will run out just before the ending. So that's why the times might not look that fast as well. And it's only quote-unquote 2 seconds faster. But, well, it's still Heath who has called back up a little bit, 9th position for him. And we see the first attack mode activation in the top 5. It is Paul, the Portuguese player who has so much speed, overtakes Gennady, who has made a mistake by the looks of it.
Yep.
And dropped all the way down to P5 from 2nd position.
Was looking very slow at the exit of turn 21. And we also do see Paul getting a little bit slower at the exit of turn number 5. But yeah, Gennady had a very, very heavy impact, but again, same as Heave in the previous round, he did get airtime because of, I feel like attack mode gives him a little bit too much speed, and thus he manages to get airtime from that, but that is not exactly what you want to do. It's not really going to hamper his challenge for P3 and P2 at the moment, though, because Patroza and Wosal, of course, still running in the regular mode, are going to be absolutely left in the dust of Paul's car. But again, Paul, very much like in previous races, he's still very much a bit of a resource hog when it comes to energy consumption in attack mode. Even he's still sitting on around 59%, a bit lower compared to someone like Fick, who's on 59.5. But when it comes to energy consumption, it is currently Wizzy who's got the ticket, whilst we do see a new fastest lap from Yannex, currently sitting in P18 with a 47.320, and Wizzy, as we said, 61% energy remaining, still 2 and 3% over the rest of the field.
Oh man, I just spectated Paul, and he has lost a tremendous amount of speed, because it is reactor boost, and with reactor boost going over bumpy road, you can lose a significant portion of speed, because you can lose control, you can go into a wall, and that is what happened to Paul. So he has been making a mistake. He gets a personal fastest lap with a 48.6, but of course this is hardly faster than a normal flying lap, and he's 4.4 seconds behind Quick, make it almost 5 seconds now. And of course, with the attack modes, you use less energy, right? And Paul overusing on points. He is barely getting there, so maybe he needs to adjust a little bit in order to not run into limp modes during the end of the race. He still has one attack mode left, but can this seal the deal? We still have 18 laps to play, and it looks like another quick show. What an impressive performance. I just have to state this one out. And also Granati activated attack mode for the first time, also overusing slightly here by the looks of it, but he still is on P5, didn't even catch up to Patrose or Wosa.
And it was just like that. He clocks in the first sub 47 time and decides to go for another back-to-back attack mode activation here at mid-race. 46.963 for the wheelman from Germany. The most recent race winner in TMFE, of course, taking the race win last time out in Berlin. And yeah, you were talking about Paul. I was trying to feel out the consumption from others, such as Wizzy, who's currently still sitting really, really pretty with 2 attack modes still left to activate, mind you, as Granati goes a little bit too wide, gets airtime just like the others did, and barely brushes the wall with the left rear. But yeah, it feels like Paul has seemingly wasted that attack mode with those back-to-back mistakes on both laps, and it seems as though he lost it in turn number 14, from what I recall correctly, because as soon as I switched back to cams, he was already back up to speed, overtaking both Wosal and Patrose. So yeah, Paul unfortunately not making the best of that very first attack mode activation. We sure hope that that second activation that he has to go through will go better for him, as Granati is just absolutely on a roll, potentially with another fastest lap of the race in the books, as he started lap number 17 out of 33, and he's right on the coattails of Patrose. And Paul, P3 is now his. Not quite. He managed to Patrose managed to just hang around for turn 5, but not for much longer. But actually Granati gets their time. Come on, surely there it is. P3 for him now. Now P2 waiting in the wings, as we do see Nano getting a lap down. Paul very closely avoiding the inside wall in turn number 14, and Granati about to overtake him on the long straight before the finish line with 4 seconds to go. It's very close to the fastest lap of the race, and it is another fastest lap of the race. 0.9 flats, and he hits the wall as he tries to set himself up for the chicane, and thus gives that second place back to Paul. And third place to Wosal.
Yeah, Wosal also activated the attack mode, but you could have seen it is so important that the attack mode just lasts for as long as possible, that you have good laps, because the attack mode ends at the end of your second lap. When you have the attack mode enabled. So this is very, very important, but also the small air time that Granati got there, it's because you have reactor boost up attached to your car, and every elevation change will mess with your car. And let's see if Wosal also falls victim to that, as he is on a very, very good lap. Let's take a look. It will be a 46.988, so only 900ths away from Granati's fastest lap, but still quick, even though he has not activated a single attack mode. Still in the lead by far. Wosal cannot even see him. He is 2 to 3 turns in front of him.
Yeah, indeed. And yeah, Kvik continuing to be very much in full control of the race, and he's pulling off one of those management masterclasses that he's very well known for in Team FE. Despite that contact in the entry into turn number 11 and 12, he manages to get away with minimal damage and continues to control the gap around the 4.4 to 4.5 second mark compared to his nearest opposition. And I feel like starting with lap 20, he might be thinking more seriously about, okay, I need to get those 2 activations out of the way. Might as well try to use them, maybe not back-to-back, but maybe just 1 or 2 laps apart, as he decides to sit this one out and wait for another lap before deciding to go for activation of the attack mode. And Wizzy also looking, as I said, Wizzy looking pretty good in terms of energy consumption, 16.7 seconds down. I feel like this is going to be a bit of a tougher proposition to try and catch back up around this particular track, because of the traps, especially in the second sector. Once you get past turn 5, it gets very, very dicey very quickly with attack mode, as other drivers have experienced earlier on in the race.
Yeah, but also Wizzy is very, very careful of his energy consumption here. He runs on echo mode, and he could push 1 or 2 turns a bit more, and he still has 2 attack modes left. And you know what would be really fun? If Quake finishes the race with still both attack modes left on the track. That would be so good.
I think you would have to go for them back to back. I think those are the rules here in Formula E, as he decides to continue.
You have to go for them.
Yeah, you have to go for those.
Okay.
I reckon he might be, maybe, you know what? I think that might be the first time that someone in the very top goes for very late race activations, like someone in the top 1, top 2. And I feel like if he does that and has enough energy to boot, we could see that 46.9 be completely obliterated, because I feel like he's got that track down to a T. You can see the confidence in which he attacked some of these corners, maybe a little bit
he
of
just made a
overconfidence
mistake
into turn number 14. Yeah, went a little bit too wide, but it's very easy to do. It's not exactly a trivial setup in terms of getting the line and getting the timing right to get the drift initiated. But honestly, if he can string those two back-to-back activations together, it will be absolutely insane to watch.
Yeah, it will be very, very cool to watch. And also, in that very, very hectic middle section, Quick was able to do some speed slides. I have just seen that, but you are above 400 kilometers per hour. Maybe we're gonna take a look onto that, but that's the section here that I'm talking about. You exceed 400 kilometers per hour, you go down here, and then boom, you can go for an ST. That's what I mean. Small ST there. Just like it's a little bit that you can get, but I think he will get a little bit of speed out of it, and it makes it a bit more comfortable for him. But he's on a great time here again. It could be a sub 49 for him here, as he's not driving particularly risky or just insanely close to the walls. He just drives consistent, 49.173. And there you go, Quick going for his first attack mode activation after 23 laps. And let's take a look what Quick can do. Will the fastest lap of Granadi be beaten or not? Definitely not on this lap, but then lap number 2 of his attack mode activation.
Lap number 2 is going to be where we're going to be seeing. But also, this section, this is where Granadi faltered. This is where Paul faltered. This is where he faltered. We need to see if he's able to manage. Oh, he decides to go for a very big lift. You could probably hear it in the in-game sound, but he decided to kind of lift up a little bit to avoid getting the airtime that was so costly in all of the other drivers' attempts to try and tame attack mode here in this Diriyah circuit, as we're going to be heading towards the second lap of that attack mode activation for Quick. And this is now that the hunt for the track record starts for the Norwegian, the championship leader, maybe trying to assert domination once again after what was a temporary setback only during the Berlin E-Prix, a temporary setback which was marked by a very, very hefty crash into turn 2 in that track. And we're going to be seeing him absolutely obliterate his personal best of a 49.026, of course, as he continues. Man, that exit in turn 5 is always so scary.
That was so good.
That was such a great entry to turn 8. My God, the heart flutters. Quick, you cannot do this. What on earth are you pulling off behind the wheel of that stadium car, sir? He's about to cross turn 16 and 17 and about to cross the start-finish straight. It will be a brand new personal best, of course. Can he try to spring for Granadi's 46.9? The answer is a yes, and quite handily with a .717 just as attack mode finishes.
Wow.
My goodness, the man is back in the business. Quick, the championship leader, absolutely schooling everybody else on the track out there.
That was an incredible middle section from Quick there. The small drift, how he broke out and almost touched the outside. And also here, just perfectly releasing the acceleration to not get airtime, and also exiting it with a small speed slap by the looks of it. Just looking like art, like impressive performance from Quick, and that's why he is the leader of the ranking at the moment. 190 points he has after a small hiccup in race number 2, what he could stay, but I mean, it was still a second place. Come on, he will probably win race number 3 here as well. And he is 7.7 seconds ahead of Paul. But look at the battle for second position here, Thomas, as it is Wolsa who activated the attack mode for the second time, and Paul is just 2 seconds in front of him.
Yeah, and I feel like this is going to be checkmate for Paul, who decided to go for those activations and unfortunately squandered the opportunity given to him with those back-to-back activations. Wolsa now in with a prime spot to overtake Paul, I'm guessing on the return straight before the chicane, or maybe even in the starts-finish straight before at the start of lap number 27. I reckon those are going to be prime spots of attack, as he's going to be catching up quite handily into turn 15 and 16 as we are about to start lap number 27. And just as a quick PSA, guys, we are just dealing with a few turbulences. Make sure to stand by as we go with Wosal in P2 now as he completely blasted by on the run into the next lap. Great work from Wosal, who's now just going to have to be content with that second place. And Wizzy, courtesy of back-to-back attack mode activations, has snatched away the fastest lap of the race, and he decided, you know what, I've got nothing to lose. Let's just try to max it as hard as we can. And a huge crash from Wosal, exited turn 5 and 6. He still has attack mode that's trying to save him, but that is so painful. Of course, he's still not really going to be able to do anything for the lead, but I hope for him, and we sure hope for him, that it does not happen too many times, because that second place is far from safe. And I wanted to finish on Wizzy, but that was an absolute obliteration of the timesheets. Close to 6/10 faster, and even like half a second faster at the very least compared to the previous fastest lap, which was held by Quick.
Yeah, just too bad that Wizzy went for a more conservative approach here and is 20 seconds behind. He could have pushed 1 or 2 turns a bit more and just gained a bit of time, but during 28 laps, this of course compounds and you will lose 20 seconds eventually. So Wizzy, not with the most perfect strategy in this way, but still P6 for him is not too bad, because with that, you will still be on 4th, even though, no, Wosal on 2nd. So Wizzy will get overtaken in the total ranking here by the looks of it. But let's just take a look onto the last couple of laps. As Granadi overtakes Paul, I have not spotted that, but also Paul is overusing, but it seems like he has made a mistake. And we see another attack mode and also the last attack mode activation for Quick, who is of course still leading, has only 4 more laps to go, and maybe we can take a look onto him again. But it seems like we have a quite exciting battle for that 3rd position between Granadi and Paul, and then also Wosal, who could fumble theoretically that 2nd position away, but it seems like he has still a quite comfortable gap here of 2 seconds. Let's go with Quick into lap 30, which could be another PB lap. He is 0.4 away from Wizzy's time. And let's see if he can do it. If someone can, then it is him. Let's go into lap 30. Quick, here we go.
All right, Quick, lap 30, heading into the chicane. The first sequence of corners here in this lap in the Trackmania version of the Diriyah E-Prix, as we make our way towards turn number 21 in real life, and the way onto the pit lane and the actual timing line that the Formula E cars cross in real life, heading into the roundabouts, turns 2 and 3, as we do see one of the lap cars unfortunately having some troubles navigating that particular section. Oh, that is very, very close, very touch and go again, going through that downward section, manages to keep the release quite handily.
Wow,
now tries to get a speed slide again, going through turns 10 before going through turn 11, 12, and 13. And it's going to be putting Linko a lap down. It's looking very, very fast. Might be even looking at a fastest lap, maybe even a 0.2 at this rate, heading into the start-finish straight. What is the time going to be? The survey says new lap record of 0.137 for the race leader with 3 laps to go.
Quick with an absolute masterclass there. The middle section was so much better. Maybe remember from his previous fastest lap that he has done doing the attack mode. He slid out a little bit, was able to save it just by a hair, and now he makes a mistake. A bit too overconfident there, and you should not land on your roof. This would be absolutely lethal. Glad this didn't happen for Quick, and he has a tremendous gap to work with, but definitely deserved. Just 1 or 2 small mistakes from Quick during this race. This was absolutely hard to beat him here, as we see Wosal on 2nd place, followed by Paul, and it seems like Granadi is dropping all the way back to that 3rd position, but it's only a couple of milliseconds between them. It is head-to-head between them. Granadi with the overtake here, going into lap 32 here in just a couple of turns. Granadi back to 3rd place, but it's still so close. It is 10 seconds of a gap between 1st and 2nd, but it's thousands between 3rd and 4th.
Look at this, almost side by side, heading into lap 32. The penultimate lap now officially underway. Granadi still fighting tooth and nail for that 3rd position, that last spot on the podium, retaking 3rd position into turn number 21 in real life, into turn number 3 here, number 4 in Trackmania rather, sorry. And Paul now has to do it all again, but he knows that he might not really be able to fight for much longer, because he knows that that 2nd sector is where Granadi absolutely has the upper hand compared to Paul. Paul kind of sliding out of the entry to turn number 8 and 9, and yeah, Granadi is visibly shrinking in the perspective of Paul. You can see the gap is continuing to widen and widen and widen. We're at 0.7 of a second here with Granadi continuing to lead quite convincingly. And in the meantime, I think we should head back to the race leader. And very sorry for the small interference there, but we're going to be writing this out towards the end of the race, as this man has overcome a quite... I'm guessing a quite disappointing result, quote-unquote, in second place, although it still was very much a good outcome in the championship chase in Berlin. In quick terms, indeed, second place is not enough. Nothing but the best. And here, he put in an absolutely scintillating performance, an absolute masterclass in energy management and outright pace. Not discontent with the fastest lap, Quick will take to the checker flag and win once again in TMFE here at the Diriyah E-Prix. It is going to be Warsaw finishing in P2, and Granadi has built up enough of the gap to guarantee a spot on the podium. This is going to be a great, great finish for the German wheelman, who will be continuing his championship charge quite cromulently, as Paul has Paul. Oh, Paul, yeah, Patron's overtaking Paul. Paul has been condemned to limp mode. Wizzy's also seemingly being able to overtake Paul. No, Paul is way too far up. P5 for Paul, P6 for Wizzy, P7 for Kumiko, or he rather, World, finishing in P8 with 1.3% state of charge. Great job on the part of the Frenchman. 9th place for Loco, the highest place Spaniard in the race standings. And actually, Marius also slowing down quite heavily, dropping down to P11 and even P12 as Baby and James also overtake him. Body Productions finishing in P13, rocking the magnificent Nissan livery. P14 for Yannick, P15 for Yandro, and P16 for Linko, who achieved her best results so far this season. And Kai, I mean, there's nothing else to say than an absolute masterpiece of a race by Kvik there.
Yeah, one or two mistakes, but if any, like doing just 40 minutes of racing, this is just an absolute incredible performance from Kvik. 0.7% of energy left here in the end from him as well. 13 seconds out of Wolsal, who finally got himself a very, very solid performance in and getting that second position across. Then Granadi capitalizing from Paul, who went into limp mode very, very early on in the last lap, securing himself the podium spot as well. Then Patrosa Paul, Wizzy, Kumiko, Wall, Loco, Bimi, and so on and so forth. That is the ranking here, as you can see. Let's go on to the other page, because we have also other players who have been playing during the race.
Yeah, indeed. In total, 48 players who have participated in this first division. Unfortunately, now had technical difficulties and thus was our casualty of the race, retiring 25 laps before the finish. And Bergträger finishing 3 laps down, Axion and Nano 2 laps down. And yeah, that was pretty much it. I just wanted to go through the rankings, because we know that we have a set time here for those particular race rankings. And just before we actually wrap it up, I want to apologize. Well, I want to apologize. We've been having some technical issues. It seems as though we had a little bit of turbulence regarding some of the technical setup that we are using here for the broadcast. These will be investigated and hopefully sorted out for the next round of the season. But thank you very much for sticking with us, and we hope that you have enjoyed the race. I mean, it's been fairly enjoyable while running a race in the full dry and also bright sunshine. I think this is the very first time the first time in almost 6 months that we've had a race in broad daylight like that. Last time out was actually the championship finale in London, which was disputed in broad daylight, actually. So very nice to see a track using that atmosphere.
Yeah, it was a great race here, and of course the risk of rain was not there in Saudi Arabia. I would have been very surprised. Maybe the admins would have done a little bit of trolling, but this definitely did not happen. So thank you guys so much for joining. We will be back on April 9th, so make sure to mark that in your calendar, because the Miami E-Prix will take place. It is a new circuit that will be happening, or a new E-Prix happening. For us, a new map also will be featured as a track of the day, and with that coupled today as well. I'm looking forward to that, and I leave the last words to you, Thomas.
I think you've pretty much said it all. We will see you back for the Trackmania Formula E Championship for round 4 on April the 9th at 8 p.m. CET for the main race. Same time, same channel, and yeah, I feel like there's not really much else to say. Make sure to check out the Formula E Club in-game for not only the racetracks, but also the game mode and the skins. FIAFormulaE.com for all your Formula E related cravings when it comes to news, and maybe figuring out the broadcasting partners to follow Formula E in your country, and even race replays. Seasons 1 through 10 are available to watch for free on the Formula E website. Make sure to go check it out. Anyways, thank you very much for watching. Much love, be kind, stay safe, and until next time, Godspeed, people.